Hello people, how are you doing? We are back for another episode of me talking about nonsensical shit that I've been thinking about. And yeah, we're also back with the Jedi Cal Kestis adventures in the background. This time is Jedi Survivor, I reckon, yeah. I bought it recently, and yeah, I really enjoyed thus far. But anyways, I'd like to ask a small question of you. I have a small query for you, if you may. How are you? Or more precisely, how are you yourself? small difference here. So yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this question because of a philosophical paradox called the ship of Theseus. So for those who don't know what this is all about, it's basically you take a ship and each day you replace one plank with a brand new one. And so at some point, all the planks will have been replaced. And then you ask yourself the question, is it still the same ship or not? And then yeah, depending on your answer, you basically, know what your stance on identity and yeah, what makes you yourself. So before actually getting into those answers and my thoughts on them, I'd like to point out some small things. Yeah, I didn't really look into this debate on a more like large scale. I didn't do any research about like what people usually think about this debate or anything like that. I don't have any outside knowledge. I just have my own analysis and yeah, my own thoughts basically. So yeah, want to make that straight, because what I might say, and yeah, I'm aware of it, what I might say may be completely shit. I may be saying complete bullshit and I take full responsibility of it, but yeah, just want to make that straight. Anyhow, so you have basically two answers to this question. It's either yes or no. Yes, it is the same ship, or no, it's not the same ship. And so the most logical answer at first glance would be no, it's not the same ship, because it isn't made of the same materials as it was originally. So yeah, no, it's not the same ship. So that would mean that identity for you is made by what makes you physically, like your corporeal matter, basically. Which I don't quite agree, but we'll get that into it a bit more later. The second answer would be yes, it's still the same boat, and that's one thing that I might actually agree with. Yeah, for me it is the same ship, because for me identity is made because of the idea of it. Like saying that it is Theseus' ship makes it Theseus' ship, you see. So in a way, yeah, for me the idea of it having a certain identity creates said identity. However, if we actually look into it a bit more deeper, we notice that it doesn't really work for actual sentient beings. Because I know my dad could be going around and saying that the delivery boy is his son, whilst that wouldn't be true. The delivery boy wouldn't be me, because I'm me, definitely. So yeah, that doesn't quite apply for sentient beings. So yeah, then we have to think what makes identity, if we say yes, what makes identity for actual sentient and conscious beings? And that for me would be experience. For me, experience definitely creates identity. Let's just imagine that in the future we manage to create body swapping. So that means that at any time that I want, I can body swap with someone else. So my consciousness gets transported into that other person's body and vice versa. But that wouldn't really make me the other person, because I have my own thoughts, my own experiences, my own views on the world, so that wouldn't make me the other person. And vice versa, that wouldn't make the other guy me, because he has his own thoughts and all. So yeah, definitely it's not body, that like our corporeal sort of mortal matter that makes us ourselves. It's our mind, basically. That's us. It's our thoughts, it's our experiences, what we've been through, what we've endured in our whole life. Also, this view sort of resolves a problem that I had with the other perspective. Let's say that yeah, it's our bodies that create identity, and so that kind of makes a problem, because let's say, I don't know, I get my hand amputated, or let's say even farther away in the future with like transhumanism, I get a brand new hand, a bionic hand. That means that, I'm not really me anymore, because I don't have the same parts that I had originally before getting my hand replaced. So yeah, that doesn't quite sit right with me. Whilst if it's our experiences and what we've been through that creates identity, well, I can get my whole arm or legs replaced. Hell, I could get my dick cut off. This would still be me, cause I still lived through all the things that I did. So after having that first thought process, I still wanted to go a bit more in depth with the other perspective that I don't quite agree with. So I went back to that first ship dilemma, and I thought, yeah, well, day 0, it's when the ship is itself, it has all the same planks. And so the last day, it's when all the planks have been replaced, so it's clearly a different ship. But then day 1, when we replaced the first plank, well, it's definitely from that perspective not the same ship, because it doesn't have the same materials as at first. But then, if we think about the second day, the second plank gets replaced. Well, it's even less it than the previous days, because it has less of the original materials as the day before. So there's a sort of hierarchy of itness, of like the shipness of it. And so I tried to sort of see if that logic applies to the human body and the human consciousness. And so from a materialistic point of view, well, the consciousness is found within the brain. That's where all the chemicals, reactions apply, that's where all the thoughts are being created and processed. So yeah, the consciousness from a materialistic point of view is in my brain. And so that means that, well, my brain is where it's clearly like the most me. But then, I don't know, let's take my hand. My hand is like a distance point of view, it's further away from me. So is my hand, well, less a part of me? And then let's take my foot. My foot is even further away from my brain, so my consciousness, than my hand. So is my foot even less me than my hand? Yeah, I went into a sort of weird rabbit hole with this. So yeah, I'll stop talking about this because it's a bit nonsense if you ask me. But yeah, it was still fun not sleeping and thinking about this instead. But then I thought for a bit, and I wanted to see if there wasn't a way to sort of unite these two seemingly opposite opinions into a sort of one big and unifying argument. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I came up with one. Behold the time argument. Usually when you ask yourself what makes you yourself, you're actually talking, and we usually forget to think about this, but usually when we mean that, what we mean by that is what makes us yourselves at one precise moment. Because yeah, the only thing that truly matters when you ask yourself what makes you yourself is at one particular moment in your whole life. That's what we're talking about when you ask yourself this question. And this sort of idea kind of bashes the two other arguments. So first, let's take the experience creates identity and see how that applies to the time argument. Time creates identity. Well, if we take yourself at one precise moment and try to think of it as yeah, I am myself because of my experience. Well, if we take you from like a month ago, the you from 1 month ago doesn't quite have the same experience that you do at that precise moment right now. And that also works for future you. Let's take you in like a year. You in a year isn't really quite you, because he has gone through much more than you did right now. So if we think that it is the experience that creates identity, well, we also have to take in consideration the time factor of it all, because time is in a way a sort of scale for us to know about which us we're talking about. Oh, and I hear some people saying that, yeah, well, for me it's clearly not the experience that creates identity, it's my body, it's my corporeal being that makes me who I am. And to that I reply that every 7 years all your cells in your body get replaced, so technically you're not really in the same body that you were 7 years ago. So guess that time really does have an impact, Anyway, yep, that's all for today. That time's important, take your time, yeah.